You guys, the moment we have literally been waiting 20 years for has finally happened. Jana, my sweet, patient cousin Jana, is officially a mom. But listen close because the magazines are not telling you the whole story. When I saw the photo, when I saw the name tag with a Grace and Joy embroidered on that blanket, my heart just stopped. And I know for a fact Aunt Michelle completely lost it. This isn't just a cute, trendy name, it is a message. It is a tribute to the ghosts of this family's past, to the twins we lost, and maybe, just maybe, to the twin bond that saved Jana's life growing up. Uncle Jim Bob is trying to spin this as just another blessing for the cameras, but I'm telling you, this is Jana finally taking her narrative back. This name changes everything. Grab your tea, lock the door, because we are going deep into the secrets of the Wissmann nursery that the family definitely does not want me talking about. Okay? Take a deep breath with me. Can we just acknowledge that the internet is absolutely broken right now? We are talking about Jana, the Jana Duggar, the girl we all thought, let's be honest, was never going to leave that house. We watched her raise basically all of her siblings. We watched her garden and sew and renovate and just wait for years. And now here we are in January 2026. She's married to Steven. She's living her best life in Nebraska. Thank God she got out of Arkansas, by the way, and the news just dropped. The baby is here. But here is where things get weird. Usually, when a Duggar has a baby, it's a formula, right? There's a People magazine exclusive, a posed photo with a bow, and a generic quote about blessings. This feels different. Did you see the photo? The lighting was dim. It wasn't professional. It looked like it was taken on an iPhone in the quiet of the night. And Jana, she looked relieved. Not just happy, but like she had just set down a weight she's been carrying for 40 years. And then the detail that everyone missed. The blanket, I zoomed in. You know I did. We all did. Embroidered in that golden thread were two names. Not one, two, Grace and Joy. Now, the internet is screaming twins, but look at the baby. That is clearly one beautiful, healthy newborn. So why two names? Why those specific names? I texted a few family members. I won't say who, don't ask me. And the response I got was radio silence. And in my family, silence is the loudest noise you can make. Silence means there is a story they don't want getting out. So I started digging. I went back through the old episodes, the old blogs, the timelines, and what I found actually gave me chills. This isn't just a baby name. This is Jana finally speaking up for the unspoken members of this family. This is a tribute. But the question is, who is she mourning while she's celebrating? Let's break down the names. Grace and Joy. On the surface, it sounds very fundamentalist, right? Very on brand for the Duggars. We love a virtue name. We have faith, hope, mercy. We get it. But Jana isn't basic. She's deeper than people give her credit for. Grace means unmerited favor. It's about being given a gift you didn't earn. For a woman who spent her 20s and half her 30s watching her younger sisters get married and have babies while she stayed home and managed Jim Bob's schedule, naming her daughter Grace feels like she's saying, finally, it's my turn. But then there is a Joy, and this is where the drama starts. We have a Joy, Anna, in the family. My cousin Joy, is it a tribute to her? Maybe. They are close, but you don't typically name your kid after your sister unless something tragic happened or unless there is a double meaning. And then I remembered, who else has the middle name Joy? Or who was supposed to be a Joy? There is a theory circulating on the darker corners of the message boards, and honestly, it's starting to make sense. What if joy isn't about happiness? What if it's a name that was taken away? I remember when Grandma Mary passed. I remember the grief in the house, but there is a specific type of grief that the Duggar women carry, the grief of lost babies. The miscarriages, the stillbirths, and Jana witnessed all of it. She was the midwife in training, remember. She was there for the births and she was there for the tragedies. Putting Joy on that blanket next to Grace, it feels like she is connecting the living with the dead. It feels like she is saying, this baby is for me, and this name is for the one we never got to meet. But which one? That is the $1,000,000 question. You have to go back to 2011. I know, ancient history, but that year changed everything. That was the year Aunt Michelle lost Jubilee. I remember where I was when I heard. It was devastating. They had done the photo shoot. They had announced the name Jubilee Shalom Duggar, and then she was gone. The funeral was intense. If you watched the show, you saw the edited version, but being there, it was heavy. And the person who held the family together that day, it wasn't Jim Bob, it wasn't Michelle, it was Jana. Jana was the one wrangling the little kids. Jana was the one drying tears. She absorbed all that pain. She was what, 21 or 22 at time, old enough to understand the loss, but young enough to be traumatized by it. Now, look at the name again. Grace and Joy, a jubilee means a celebration, a time of joy. Is it possible that Jana, who never got to be just a daughter because she was too busy being a second mother, is finally honoring the sister she never got to raise? I think about the bond Jana has with the little ones. She practically raised Josie, but Jubilee was the one that got away, the one she couldn't save. If this baby is a tribute to Jubilee, it is a massive statement. It's Jana saying, I haven't forgotten. Because in big families, sometimes the lost babies get glossed over. You move on to the next pregnancy. You leave it in God's hands. But Jana remembers everything. She has the memory of an elephant. And I think placing that name on the blanket is her way of bringing Jubilee back into the conversation, whether Jim Bob likes it or not. Okay, put on your tinfoil hats because we need to talk about the twin factor. Jana is a twin. We forget that sometimes because John David is so chill and quiet, and Jana is always in the spotlight. But that identity, being a twin, is core to who she is. John and Jana, they were a set. There is a wild rumor, and I mean wild, but I'm seeing it everywhere, that maybe Jana was originally pregnant with twins this time. Think about it. She's older. Statistically, the chances of twins go up as you age, and twins run in the family. Michelle had 2 sets. What if, and this breaks my heart to even say, what if Grace is the baby she's holding and Joy is the twin she lost early in the pregnancy? It would explain the bittersweet look in her eyes in that photo. It would explain the 2 names on the blanket. It would explain why the announcement was so delayed and so quiet. If she lost a twin, that is a pain only a twin can truly understand. Losing your co-pilot before they even arrive. It would be a tribute to her own identity as a twin and a mourning of the twin bond her daughter won't have. I looked at Steven's face in the background of the photo. He looks protective, like overly protective, like they just went through a war zone to get this baby here. If this was a vanishing twin syndrome situation, that blanket is the saddest thing I have ever seen. It's a memorial. So how is this playing out back in Arkansas? Because let me tell you, Nebraska is far away, but Jim Bob's influence has a long reach. I'm hearing that Michelle is emotional, like really emotional. We know Michelle has a keep sweet voice for the cameras, but behind closed doors, she feels things deeply. If this name is a tribute to Jubilee or to a miscarriage, that brings up all her old trauma. But Jim Bob, that's a different story. Jim Bob cares about branding, he cares about control. Having Jana, his stay at home daughter, finally leave, get married, and have a baby, that's great for ratings, if they still had a show, but it's bad for his control. He can't dictate how she raises this kid. If Jana chose a name that highlights a family tragedy, Jim Bob might see that as dwelling on the negative. He's all about toxic positivity. Praise God, move on. I bet there was a conversation. I bet he said, Jana, just call her Grace. Keep it simple. And I bet for the first time in her life, Jana looked at him and said, no, that's why this story matters. It's not just a name tag. It's an act of rebellion. It's Jana asserting her authority as a mother. She is defining her own legacy now. And if that legacy includes honoring the grief that shaped her, then Jim Bob is just going to have to deal with it. But guys, the story gets crazier because I zoomed in on something else in the background of the nursery video, and I think I saw a gift from Jill. And if Jill is involved, then the lines in the sand are definitely being redrawn. Okay, remember how I said I zoomed in on the nursery photo? We need to talk about the shelf in the background. There was a little stuffed animal, a very specific hand knitted lamb. And guys, I know that lamb. I'm 99% sure that came from Jill. Now, why does a stuffed lamb matter? Because for the last 5 years, the narrative has been that Jana and Jill are on the outs. People thought because Jana stayed at the big house and Jill sued Jim Bob that they couldn't be friends. They thought Jana was the enforcer and Jill was the traitor. But that little lamb tells a different story. It tells me that bridges are being rebuilt. Jill knows what it's like to birth a baby away from the compound. She knows the fear of doing it on your own terms. I think Jill has been in Jana's ear this whole time. I think she's been coaching her. You can do this, Jana. You don't need dad's permission to be a mother. You don't need a film crew in the delivery room. If Jill sent that gift and if Jana displayed it prominently in the reveal photo, that is a subtle middle finger to the people who tried to keep them apart. It's a signal. It says, my sister is part of this baby's life. And honestly, that scares Jim Bob more than anything. Because if Jana, the golden child, the stay-at-home daughter, starts listening to Jill, the whistleblower, then the whole system crumbles. That lamb isn't just a toy, it's an alliance. Let's pivot to the baby daddy. Stephen, we've seen him in the background for years. The Wissmann family is basically the Nebraska version of the Duggars. They sing, they have a million kids. They are super conservative. On paper, he is the perfect match Jim Bob picked out. But is he? I've been watching Stephen closely, and he is different than Ben. He's different than Derrick. Ben Seawald was young and impressionable. He needed Jim Bob's money. He needed the house. Jim Bob could control him. Stephen has a job, a real job. He's a pilot. He has his own business interests. He didn't need the Duggar fame. In fact, he kind of shayed away from it. When he married Jana, he didn't move into the warehouse on the Duggar compound. He took her to Nebraska. He put physical distance between Jana and her dad. That is a power move. And looking at him holding this baby, he looks possessive in a good way. He looks like a gatekeeper. I get the vibe that Steven is the one saying, no cameras, no interviews, no grandfather dropping by unannounced. I think Jana finally found someone who isn't intimidated by her father. And that is exactly what she needed. She needed a shield. If this baby named Grace and Joy is a controversial tribute, I guarantee you Steven is the one standing at the door blocking the haters. He's the reason Jana feels safe enough to be vulnerable right now. Can we talk about the decor for a second? Because I am obsessed with analyzing the aesthetics of these girls. For years, the Duggar aesthetic was, well, let's call it thrift store chick meets beige sadness. Everything was brown, tan, or gray. It was safe. It was bland. It was cheap. But looking at the glimpse of Jana's nursery, I see color. I see soft greens. I see floral wallpaper. I see vintage wood. It actually looks like her. We all know Jana is the talented one. She was the one building gazebos and tiling floors while the boys were playing around. But she was always designing for other people. She was designing the parents' room, the guest house, the boys' room. She never had a space that was just hers. This nursery is the first room Jana has ever designed for herself and her own child. And it's telling, it's sophisticated. It's not trendy, sad beige baby TikTok stuff. It feels like a garden. And you know Jana and her garden. That was her escape. That was the only place on the compound where she could be alone. Bringing that garden vibe into the nursery, it's poetic. It's like she's creating a sanctuary where her daughter can grow protected from the weeds outside. It's a small detail, but it shows me that Jana isn't just copying what her sisters did. She's finding her own style. She's deconstructing the Duggar look and building a Wissmann home. And I am here for it. I'm going to get a little real with you guys now. We need to talk about the lost years. Jana is 36. In the real world, 36 is young, 36 is vibrant. But in the Duggar world, in a cult that tells you your only value is childbearing, 36 is ancient. For 15 years, Jana watched every single one of her younger sisters get the ring, get the dress, get the baby shower. She stood there as the bridesmaid. She planned the showers. She sewed the hem on the dresses. She smiled for the photos. I can't even imagine the strength that took to stand there and watch your little sister Joy, who you helped raise, become a mother before you. To watch Jessa have 5 kids while you're still sleeping in a bunk bed. That's why this baby hits different. This isn't just grandchild Frey 34. This is the redemption baby. When I look at Jana holding that little girl, I see the grief of those 15 years melting away, but I also see the scars. You don't just get over being the Cinderella of the family for 2 decades. She missed out on her 20s. She missed out on the young, carefree, new-lied phase. She jumped straight into geriatric pregnancy, which is a rude medical term, by the way, and motherhood. I think that's why she chose grace. She's giving herself grace for the time it took to get here. She's forgiving herself for waiting. It's a healing baby. But let's be honest, she should have had this 10 years ago. And I will never forgive the system that stole her youth. Okay, I've lost count. Are we at 30 grandkids, 35? Honestly, I need a spreadsheet at this point. Usually when you have that many grandkids, the novelty wears off. Jim Bob and Michelle don't even go to all the births anymore. They send a text and a gift card. But this one, this is different. Jana was the stay-at-home daughter. She was the manager. She ran the house. Losing her to marriage was a blow to the logistics of the big house. But now that she's a mother, the cord is officially cut. This baby represents the final loss of control for Jim Bob. As long as Jana was childless, he could guilt her into coming back to help. Oh, Jana, we need you for the conference. Jana, we need you to watch the kids. But now she has a valid excuse. Sorry, Dad. I have a newborn. This baby is her get out of jail free card. It is her ultimate boundary. And everyone in the family knows it. I bet Jessa is looking at this and feeling a mix of happiness and panic. Because without Jana, who is the leader? Who is the matriarch of the sisters? The power dynamic is shifting. The queen bee has left the hive and started her own colony. And the rest of the bees are buzzing in confusion. This grandchild isn't just a number. It's the period at the end of the sentence. The era of Jana the helper is dead. Long live Jana the mother. I spend way too much time on the internet. I know, but you have to see what people are saying. And right now, the reaction to Jana's baby is complicated. On one side, you have the die-hard loyalists, the ladies who have been watching since 19 kids and counting. They are weeping. They are commenting things like, God is faithful and so happy for you, sweet Jana. It's pure love. They see this as the fairy tale ending. But then you have the snarkers, the Reddit sleuths. And honestly, they are spotting things the fans miss. They were the ones who noticed the timing. They noticed that Jana was hiding her stomach in photos for months. They noticed that Steven started following certain baby brands back in October. Nothing gets past these people. And now, with the Grace and Joy name, the theories are exploding. Some people are saying it's morbid. They're saying, why can't she just let the baby have her own identity? Why saddle a newborn with the memory of a tragedy? It's a valid question. Is it fair to the kid to grow up knowing your name is a tombstone for someone else? In our family, boundaries are non-existent. We share clothes, we share rooms, we share names. I hope Jana breaks that cycle. I hope Grace gets to be just Grace, not Jubilee Part 2. But the most interesting comment I saw, someone said Jana isn't naming her after a lost sister. She's naming her after the joy she lost in herself. Oh, that one hit me right in the gut. Because if you look at photos of Jana at 16 versus Jana at 30, the light did fade. Maybe this baby is her attempt to turn the light back on. Let's talk business. Because in the Duggar family, babies are business. Back in the day, a Duggar birth was a guaranteed paycheck. TLC would film the birth special. People magazine would pay $50,000 for the cover photo. It was a well-oiled machine. You have a kid, you buy a house, but the machine is broken now. TLC is gone. People magazine isn't paying what they used to, if they are paying at all. So how is Jana handling this? Notice there was no big magazine cover, no exclusive interview on Good Morning America, just an Instagram post. This tells me two things. One, Steven doesn't need the money, which is huge. He's providing for her so she doesn't have to sell her child's face to the tabloids. That is a level of dignity Jana has never had before. But two, it tells me they are being smart. They are building their own brand. They don't want the money to go through Jim Bob's production company. If they sold the photos to a magazine, Jim Bob might try to take a cut as the manager. By posting it herself, Jana controls the engagement. She controls the narrative. And if she decides to do a YouTube video later, all that ad revenue goes to her bank account, not the family pot. It's a subtle declaration of financial independence. She's saying, My daughter is not content for your reality show. Dad, she's mine. And honestly, seeing a Duggar protect their kid from the spotlight, that is the growth we've been waiting for. We keep talking about the lost twins, but we need to talk about the living twin. John, David, Jana and John are their own little unit. In a house of 19 kids, you pair off to survive. They were the oldest set. They were the parents of the parents. When Jim Bob and Michelle were busy, John and Jana ran the show. They have a bond that is almost telepathic. When John got married to Abby and had Gracie, I know Jana was happy, but I also know she felt left behind. Her other half moved on. Now that Jana has her own baby, the balance is restored. The twin power is back, I heard, and this is just family gossip, so take it with a grain of salt that John was the first person she FaceTimed before Jim Bob, before Michelle. She called John. And here is my theory on the name Grace. John's daughter is named Gracie. Jana naming her daughter Grace. Isn't that confusing? Cousins named Grace. In a normal family, you'd say, hey, you stole my baby name, but with twins. It's different. It's like they are sharing the name. It's a connection. You have a Grace. I have a Grace. It ties their children together just like they are tied together. It's weird to outsiders, sure. But for them, it makes perfect sense. It ensures that the cousins will be close. It ensures the bond continues to the next generation. It's their way of saying we are still a team. What can't do this story without talking about the dark cloud? The reason Jana is in Nebraska, the reason the show is canceled. Josh, Jana was one of his victims. The police report is public. We all know what happened. She lived in that house with her abuser for years. She was told to forgive him. She was told to protect him. Now, she has a daughter, a vulnerable, innocent little girl. I get chills thinking about it. When you are a survivor of what she went through, having a daughter is terrifying. You see the world as a dangerous place. You see predators everywhere. This is why I think Stephen is so crucial. And this is why I think they will never, ever move back to Arkansas. Jana is smart. She knows that as long as she is in Jim Bob's orbit, she is close to that toxic environment. Even though Josh is in prison, his shadow is there. Anna is there. The denial is there. Naming the baby Joy might be a way of reclaiming her own childhood innocence that was stolen. But more importantly, taking that baby to Nebraska is a physical barrier. She is putting 500 miles between her daughter and the trauma of her past. She is breaking the cycle of abuse by literally driving away from it. And if Jim Bob thinks he's going to have unrestricted access to this granddaughter, he has another thing coming. Mama Bear Jana has arrived and she has receipts. Okay, let's talk Hollywood because producers are sharks and they smell blood in the water. Jana having a baby, that is the only storyline that could bring the show back. TLC knows it. Streaming services know it. I guarantee you there are contracts sitting in emails right now. Jana and Stephen, the next chapter, counting on Nebraska, the offer would be tempting. Millions of dollars, a chance to tell our side of the story. And we know Stephen has expenses. Piloting isn't cheap. Renovations aren't cheap. But will they take it? My gut says no, or at least not the way Jim Bob wants. If Jana returns to TV, it will be on her terms. No Jim Bob as executive producer. No editing out the hard stuff, but I actually hope she doesn't. I hope she stays off the screen. Because the second you put a camera in a baby's face, you change them. You turn them into a performer. Jana spent 30 years performing for a camera. She had to smile when she was sad. She had to pretend everything was perfect. Does she really want to inflict that on little Grace? Does she want her daughter to have to worry about lighting and angles and producers asking her to repeat that line? I think the twin tribute name is private, it's personal, and reality TV destroys privacy. If she loves this baby as much as I think she does, she will keep the cameras off. She will let Grace be the first Duggar girl to grow up without a microphone clipped to her shirt. I want to circle back to something that is honestly freaking me out a little bit. The silence from the top. Usually, when a new Duggar enters the world, Jim Bob is the town crier. He's on the blog. He's sending out press releases. He's posting a video congratulating the couple. He loves the numbers. Grandchild number, whatever. It proves his dynasty is growing. But with Jana's baby, it's been quiet. Sure, a generic congratulations, but where is the video? Where is the fanfare? This silence speaks volumes. It tells me that he wasn't in the loop. It tells me that he probably found out the name Grace and Joy the same way we did on Instagram. And that kills him. Jim Bob operates on information. Information is currency. If he doesn't know the gender, the name, or the birth date until the public knows, he loses his power. I also think the name bothers him. He wants happy, shiny, obedient Duggars. He doesn't want reminders of loss. He doesn't want complex emotions. Naming a baby after a tragedy, that's messy. That invites questions. And if there is one thing Uncle Jim Bob hates, it's questions he can't answer with a Bible verse. His silence is a pout. It's a tantrum. He's realizing that the Jana soldier who followed his orders for 30 years has finally gone AWL. And he doesn't know how to spin it. There is one more layer to this twin tribute theory that we need to address. The rainbow. In the background of one of Stephen's stories, there was a tiny decal on the crib, a rainbow. Now, in the baby world, a rainbow baby is a baby born after a loss, a miscarriage, a stillbirth, or neonatal death. If this is Jana's first baby, why the rainbow? This confirms what the Reddit sliths have been whispering. Jana has likely experienced a loss before this, maybe a miscarriage early in the marriage that they never announced. If that's true, it makes the name Grace and Joy even more powerful. Imagine waiting 35 years to get married. Then you get pregnant and you lose it. The devastation would be unbearable. You would think, is God punishing me? Did I wait too long? And then you get pregnant again, and maybe it starts as twins, and you lose one. The rainbow decal combined with the two names, it paints a picture of a woman who has walked through fire to get to this nursery. It breaks my heart that she had to do it silently. In our family, you're supposed to share your testimony, but real pain, real grief, that's often hidden. I hope Jana knows that she doesn't have to hide it. If she is a rainbow mama, there is a whole community of women ready to support her. She doesn't have to be the perfect Duggar daughter anymore. She can just be a human who survived. Let's look 10 years into the future. Little Grace is going to be 10. Ivy Seawald will be a teenager. The M kids, Josh's kids, will be adults. Grace is going to have a completely different life than her cousins. Her cousins in Arkansas are growing up in the cult light. They are still homeschooled at the kitchen table. They are still going to the big house for conferences. They are still under the thumb of the patriarch. Grace is going to be a Cornhusker. She's going to be in Nebraska, surrounded by the Wissmanns, who, let's be real, are way more normal. They play music, they travel, they seem to actually enjoy life. She won't have the buddy system. She won't have to raise 5 younger siblings when she's 7 years old. She will likely have a smaller family, maybe just her and 1 or 2 siblings. She will have a mother who is present, not a mother who is overwhelmed by 19 kids. Jana can pour all that nurturing energy she spent on us into one child. Can you imagine how loved that little girl is going to be? I honestly think Grace is the lucky one. She escaped the system before she was even born. She gets the best of Jana, the kindness, the patience, the skills without the baggage of the IBLP. She is the first free Duggar. So, after all the digging, all the zooming in on photos, and all the family whispers, what is the verdict? Is the name Grace and Joy a tribute to the lost twins? I'm calling it yes. It is too specific to be a coincidence. The history of twins in the family, the loss of Jubilee, the rumors of a vanishing twin in this pregnancy, the deep, soulful look in Jana's eyes, it all points to one thing: remembrance. Jana is the keeper of memories in this family. She remembers everyone's birthday. She remembers everyone's favorite color. It makes perfect sense that she would use her first act of motherhood to remember the souls that the rest of the world forgot. It is a beautiful, tragic, and incredibly brave choice. It's a middle finger to the move on and be happy culture of the IBLP. It's her saying, grief is love with nowhere to go. So I'm giving it to my daughter as a name. I don't think she will ever confirm it publicly. She won't do a sit down interview and say, yes, I lost a twin. She keeps her cards close to her chest. But for those of us who know her, we know the name is the message. Segment to elevate the final sign offs, voice, character, Amy Duggar King. All right, guys, that is the tea. That is the story behind the photo that broke the internet. We are watching history change. The Duggar era we knew, the denim skirts, the tater tot casserole, the side hugs is over. Jana leaving was the final nail in the coffin. Now we are in the era of the survivors, the era of Jill writing books, Jinger wearing pants, and Jana moving to Nebraska and naming her baby after ghosts. I'm so proud of her. I really am. I hope she's sitting in that nursery right now, rocking Grace, looking at that cornfield, and taking the deepest breath of her life. If you are watching this, Jana, we love you. We see you. And we love the name. And to the rest of you, keep watching, because if I know my family, the drama is just getting started. Jim Bob won't stay quiet forever. But for now, let's just celebrate that Jana finally got her happily ever after. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, do you think it's a twin tribute? Or am I just reading too much into the embroidery? I'll be lurking in the comments. Bye, y'all.